with candidates running for Jackson's mayor and Jackson's town council. I'm Susan Dong. I'm a member of the Wyoming League of Women Voters, and I'm tonight's moderator. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the Wyoming League of Women Voters, Teton County Library, Jackson Hole News and Guide, Jackson Hole Community Radio, KHOL 89.1, and Buck Rail, with funding provided by Teton County Library Foundation and Friends and the Community Foundation of Jackson Hole. Ms. Patty Roque is also here to provide live Spanish translation. So thanks to all these organizations for their support and commitment to informing voters. Tonight's forum focuses on candidates who are being challenged in the August 20th primary election. Those candidates who are currently unopposed will not be participating in tonight's Q&A format. As such, the mayoral candidates and those town council candidates who are not here will each have 2 minutes to introduce themselves. The town council candidates who are here will have 1.5 minutes to introduce themselves, and within that time, please answer the following question: what book are you currently reading? Then we will proceed on to the Q&A format for the contested town council candidates. A little bit more about the process. Tonight's questions will be posed by our astute media panel: Rebecca Huntington from Jackson Hole News and Guide, and Marianne Zumberg from Buck Rail. Karen Jerger, a League of Women Voter member, is our timekeeper. Each candidate will answer a question from a media panelist on a rotating basis, so you each have a chance to go first. You all have a red card worth 1 minute, which can be used twice to add time to an answer, rebut another candidate, or bring up something you feel is important, or it doesn't have to be used at all. These cards can be used at any time during the Q&A session by signaling your intent to me, and then I'll put you in there. You, the audience, are also encouraged to submit questions on a note card. Note cards will be collected and delivered by debug staff and Sandy Shuptrine, who are also League of Women Voters members, and they will be given to the media panel for possible use. At the end of the questioning phase, each candidate will then have 1 minute to summarize and present closing remarks. We'll finish the forum by 7:30, leaving about a half an hour for mingling. The evening will end by 8 p.m. So let's start with the Jackson mayoral candidates, Jessica Sells Chambers and Arn Jorgensen. Both are unopposed in their political parties. Thus tonight they're each allotted 2 minutes to introduce themselves to solicit your support. They'll be invited to participate in our general election forums, answering questions in the September-October timeframe. Ms. Chambers had a scheduling conflict, so she's not here tonight. However, she submitted a video on her behalf, so we're going to start out watching her video, and then we'll hear from Arn.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Sells Chambers. I'm running for mayor of Jackson. Sorry I can't be there tonight, but thank you all for being there and organizing. My first 4 years on the council, I have had the courage to care for the community, which means saying hard things at hard times. It doesn't mean leadership to me is not showing up for ribbon cutting or a photo op. It's staying the extra time at the grocery store when someone stops you on a trip that should have taken 5 minutes. It's talking on the baseball sidelines. It's stopping while you're taking the trash out in front of your house with someone that's biking by. Leadership to me is calling for a moratorium in 2021 when it was clear there was a problem. It's going to the defense and the support of the firefighters and EMTs when they're desperately seeking assistance from the electeds. It's addressing e-bike safety before there is a serious injury or death. It's recognizing that diverse voices make smarter choices, which is why I pushed for the equity task force in my first year in office, and we got it. So we have diverse underrepresented voices embedded into local government for policy making. It's ignoring your council members or colleagues when they say it's not possible to have a bike route or a safe route to school on Willow. It's pushing forward anyway. I would not ask that anybody vote based on identity or gender, because that's not what this is about. However, different people with different lived experiences that don't look and sound like the people that have historically been on the council is inevitably going to get different results, different priorities. And so I'm reminded of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, when she was asked, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? And she said, when there are 9. So I think that also applies to the council. There will be enough women and other diverse voices when there are 5. I am Jessica Stell Chambers, running for mayor. I ask for your vote. Leah, 2 seconds. Books. Escaping the Housing Trap. Very good policy book. And then this book, Sex at Dawn, The Prehistoric Origins of Sexuality. Basically an in-depth roadmap from prehistoric times to the present on how we got to this unequal, inequitable society that we live in. Thanks so much. I ask for your vote. Good luck, candidates, for the rest of the forum.
Terrific. Now we'll hear from our Jorgensen, who's also a candidate to be Jackson's mayor. Remember, in addition to your intro, we'd like to have a bit of a personal insight, so remind us, what book are you currently reading?
Make sure this is turned on. Thank you so much, very much appreciated. Mark Jorgensen, I'm running for mayor. The book that has been on my side table is Wrangling, Diary of a Dude Wrangler. I'm getting that wrong. Struthers Word. It's a great book. It's a great way to give a little bit of insight to a voice in our community 100 years ago, really questioning what is our future and what is our vision. I also have to do a call out to Jim Brooks, mentioning Wappy Wilderness yesterday, which is also one of my favorites, and one of the authors of the Luxembourg area is the namesake of mine. So those are the 2 things that I always think about a lot in this role. I am running for mayor because I am committed to this community. Growing up here, my parents instilled in me a deep, deep appreciation of this place. It is who I am, it's formed who I am. Growing up, we also had the ability or the opportunity to live in Ecuador, in Maryland. I went to school in Bozeman and then New England. Moved back here in '89. And when I did, I'm a founding board member of the Jackson Hole Community Housing Trust. Those gave me a deep, deep appreciation of this community, all of those lived experiences of what it means to be part of a community. And I'm here because of the meshing and sometimes the conflicts of those 2 aspects of my life. This is a place that I care deeply about. I am passionate about our community. I'm passionate about this place. And for the 6 years that I've been council, going on 6 years, I've been on the council. I've been fortunate to have been vice mayor or mayor pro tem. You can grill me on the distinction after the fact. That is a position, both of the positions that the mayor selects to be able to step in when the mayor is not around. I feel like I'm in the best position to really move this community forward. I have a clear vision about this community and about that balance and about who we are and protecting a sense of community. To create a thriving community while valuing this place, and it's something that I feel incredibly passionate about. My website is arnjorgensen.com. My phone number is 690-2269. It's also on my website. Feel free to reach out anytime. I would like to say I'm always able to get back to you. Sometimes I fail on that, so feel free to call me out on that. But I will get back to you. I really enjoy listening to people. I'm told as a candidate, orange, stay out of the weeds. So if you want to go in the weeds, I'm more than happy to talk about it, but please reach out anytime. I am always excited about talking about this community. Thank you so much.
So thank you to both Jessica and Arn for your intros. Now it's time to meet the candidates running for Jackson's Town Council. Devin Beeman, Scott Anderson.
Hi, my name is
Jason Fritz, Jesse Rao, Kevin Regan, and Perry Stern. Ms. Beeman and Mr. Fritz also have scheduling conflicts and were unable to join us tonight. However, they each submitted a video. And so we'll start with Jason's video.
Jason Fritz, and I've lived in Jackson now for over 30 years, being a musician, teaching music, and being an entrepreneur. And so I've learned a thing or two living here. So I would like to use my time right now to talk about the housing crisis, which is a humanitarian disaster. And we have to look at this as an emergency, as is the emergency it is. And unfortunately, when I look at what happens on the town council, you know, it's not an emergency. Hey, we're catering to all those greedy people that want as much money as possible. And I'm sorry, but people are having lots of trouble just living. Our quality of life has gone down for the middle class, and it is affecting all of us. If you have a family and you're renting right now, holy crap, you're in a bad place right now, because your landlord, they don't care. They don't care at all about you or if you end up out on the street. And what happens if you're out on the street? You can't find another place, you lose your job, you're stuck. You're stuck. The only thing you could do is leave the community. And we have known how many people in our own lives that have left this community. And we need to think about this as an emergency. And we can't be complacent. Now, that's what I would like to see happen on the town council. And if you elect me, I will push for that. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time, and have a great day.
How to open your car door while submerged.
Hey friends, it's Devin Beeman. I'm here in Albuquerque, New Mexico, so I can't be there with you this evening, which makes me super bummed out, but I'm with my son for the Junior Olympic Archery Outdoor Nationals. Thank you all for showing up and informing your vote. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the library, everybody else who's helped put on this incredible event. I've run for this seat before, and I'm back because Jackson, I hear you screaming for change. I've been screaming along with you. The only way to be truly effective is to have a vote on the town council. Housing affordability is absolutely my #1 priority. The moratorium was long overdue, but 120 days is going to go really fast. We need to really examine our land development regulations and our zoning that have actually, in some areas, driven the cost of housing up and had unintended consequences that I don't think anybody wanted. So there's more work to be done on those. I've spent the last 3 years on the Teton County Planning Commission learning even more about our natural resource issues we have, water quality, wildlife, the list goes on. Working families, middle class, getting squeezed out of Jackson. We have issues we need to work on for you. Seniors, singles. I don't want to call you the forgotten folks, but that's kind of what it feels like in our community. It's really hard for either of you to find a place to live right now. Small business owners, I see you too, because we are strangling you. I shouldn't say we, because I'm not really a part of that. But you know what I mean. We've got to create some policies and regulations that serve you and not the big box stores. Spent the last decade traveling to Cheyenne, working with our state legislators. It's important that we elect folks to these seats that have good relationships in Cheyenne. 2 books that I'm reading right now are The Women by Kristen Hanna and Escaping the Housing Trap. I'm sure I missed some things. I only had 2 minutes for this video. Please call me, please text me, email me. I'd love to meet you for coffee and share other ideas and hear from you about what's most important. Have a great night.
Fortunately, we have people who are here for our meeting. Everyone's done a great job. For the other town council candidates, please, each one of you will have 1.5 minutes to introduce yourself and include the answer to the question, what book are you currently reading? One more item, please speak directly into the microphone. So, let's start with Jesse Rao with the introduction, please. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. As she said, my name is Jesse Rao. Rhymes with wow, you'd be great on the city council. Just came up with that one. I'm really quite proud of it. So I'm actually going to start with the book because, frankly, good books are more interesting than I am most of the time anyway. Andy Weir, Project Hail Mary. So he's the guy that wrote The Martian, and this book is a completely different area of the universe, but very cool book if you're into deep sci-fi. And so with that, a little bit about me. So I am new to the Valley. So I've only been here 3 going on 4 years. I come from the bustling metropolis of Casper, Wyoming. My wife got a job up here a few years ago, so we've moved here now. She's originally from DC. I'm actually originally from California and moved out to Casper in the late 90s. And so while I was down there, I served on the school board. I taught at Casper College for a few years. And this is now my home, and I always appreciate and enjoy contributing to the community. I'm a business consultant by trade, so you won't find me calling our housing crisis a humanitarian disaster. That's a very different level of scale, but it is certainly a pain in the butt, and certainly a lot of things we can do about it. And things like tenant rights, of course, addressing the long-term plans and the zoning regulations. But a lot of things that we can do that don't necessarily even cost the community significant money. So I'm just here to help contribute my expertise to the area, and hopefully you'll vote for me. If you need more information, there's a barcode out on the table out there.
Great,
Thank you.
Scott?
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. I want to stipulate, I like and respect everyone who's in elected office right now, and anything I may say is not meant to be a personal criticism. My name is Scott Anderson. My job since I moved here in 1990 is to operate KMTN, KJAX, KCJH, and Law and Waiver Radio. My public service life includes 12 years on the Jackson Town Council, beginning in 1992. I served 6 years on the board of Lower Valley Energy and did stints on the board of the Jackson Hole Historical Society, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the local Chamber of Commerce, the Community Housing Trust, and the Wyoming Association of Broadcasters. I'm stepping up to use my years of experience to help address the issues that are facing the community: housing, growth, traffic, the budget, high property taxes. They're all big challenges. So is an effort to make regulations less burdensome on people who live here and local small businesses. For a dozen years on the Jackson Town Council, ending in 2006, I worked on issues like this. I think my background makes me a pretty good candidate. The book I'm currently reading is Dopamine Nation by Dr. Anna Lemke. Ask me more after the form.
Thank you, Perry.
Hi, I'm Perry Stern, and I'm running for Town Council. Thank you to all the sponsors of this forum. I'm originally from suburban New York City, went to college in Boston, and met my husband Michael Stern in New York. We have 2 adult children, one here in Jackson and one in Washington, D.C. with his spouse. I was originally an occupational therapist, working in adult mental health services with people with severe mental illness, helping them learn essential skills for a living. I moved from clinical work to academia and was a tenured faculty member at Teton University in Pittsburgh. After leaving academia, I worked in market research for several years. Michael lived here in Jackson back in the day, and we moved to Jackson full-time in 2016. And have been having been seasonal visitors since the late 1980s. When we decided to move here, my #1 requirement was to live in town. In Jackson, I directed home care services for the Senior Center, worked for Grand Teton Music Festival, and during COVID for the health department as part of the COVID response team. We live in the Rodeo Grounds North neighborhood, 2 blocks north of the fairgrounds. Honestly, I never thought I would be sitting here running for town council. I've been a community organizer for about 6 years. I'm an introvert, Uh-oh. I'm reading a comic book. I must be dreaming, Roz Chast, because I've been known to wake up and say, I had some really weird dreams. Thank you.
My name is Kevin Regan, and I'm running for town council. I want to take a moment to thank everybody that helped put this together, and I also want to thank everybody in the audience and the people watching online. This primary election is a very important one for the future of our town. I'm running because I can bring a balanced voice to the Jackson Town Council. I'm an environmental and land use attorney, and I've served as the law and policy advisor for Protect Our Water Jackson Hole. I'm also on the START board. I grew up in a rural area on a dirt road, and I saw the effects of bad development decisions. I watched as forests fell to strip malls, and the fields and pastures where I used to play were paved into parking lots. I want Jackson to make intentional decisions about how our community evolves. Jackson is a very special place, but we can do better. If we work together, we can improve water quality, we can improve transportation, and we can provide affordable housing and economic solutions. Something I'm reading right now is a book called Getting to Yes. It's a book that I've read before that had a big impact on me, and it's about negotiation and how to build consensus. When it comes to politics and policy, it's easy to get a no, it's easy to reach an impasse. It's much harder to get to a yes. And when a majority of the town council members are rowing in the same direction, that's when we can get to our destination and say yes to the right opportunities. Thank you. I hope to earn your vote.
Thank you. It's great that we get a chance to get to know you, and now we get a chance to know your stance on some important issues. So let's start our media question, and it'll be from Mary Ann to Scott.
Hello, candidates. Thank you for being here. How would you define the role of town councilor?
Is it me?
Yes, please.
Well, the role of the town council is not a job, it's not an occupation. It's to be there to represent the residents in your community and to try to deal with the things that they think are important. Sometimes you have to lead and make tough decisions. Sometimes you have to represent the community. But you're not there to be an expert in planning. You're not there to be a cop or a firefighter. You're not there to be a lawyer. I've been told that many times at council meetings. You're there to simply represent the community as one of its members and to try to make sure their concerns are heard and their wishes are met.
Ready?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I believe town council's job is to represent the residents of the town of Jackson. Council provides the vision and leadership and direction that gets operationalized and implemented by the incredible team of staff and department directors and frontline staff, who I believe look to town council for focus and direction. It's not a one-way street, but I think town council is essentially, or should essentially, be driving and steering the bus. As a town council, you may have certain specialized knowledge in some areas, but you also have to be a generalist. And by that I mean knowing when you need to know more and who or which experts you need to consult with. I've been learning a lot about the myriad of things that a counselor needs to know or be concerned with, and I look forward to learning more. You have to work with the county. What happens in the town affects the county, and what happens in the county affects the town. We need to work together, we need to put rhetoric aside, and we need to remember that we're all in this together. With respect to the state, I'd say the same as above, but on a larger scale, with capital A advocacy for our town. But also knowing that Jackson and Teton County are part of Wyoming's greater whole. We need to be mindful of that, and we need to work and manage different and competing circumstances. Our state representatives, some of which are here tonight, are awesome, and I would look to their leadership and experience and expertise.
So I spent a lot of time looking at the town's budget, and And there's something in there that's very significant, and that's an organization chart of the town. And it's got the town council, but up above that, it's got the residents of Jackson. It is the residents of Jackson who are ultimately the ones that are driving the bus. There's a lot of tools that you can use as town councilor, managing the budget, shaping the comprehensive plan, shaping zoning and land development regulations. But it's also very important to develop partnerships. There's a symbiotic relationship between the town and the county, and that relationship has been strained. And there's so much potential to have the two organizations working better together, as well as other partners such as federal and state agencies and nonprofits. The town councilors that I most admire, they show up and they work hard and they listen. And that's what I intend to do as a town councilor.
Great. This next question will be asked by Rebecca.
Always we have.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Response.
I forgot.
That's what I get for being down at the end of the table. All of those answers were interesting and not correct. I'm currently serving on the Flat Creek Watershed Improvement District Board, and of course, serving on as a public official here. You do need to take the public officer training course, which is fun because it does actually teach you about what the job really is and the legal responsibilities, because the fundamental responsibility for the town council is to oversee the town, how it's running, how the budget is operating, how the regulations are being passed. And so yeah, it is more than just being a voice of the community. It is a responsibility for making sure the town is being run well, making sure that the updates of regulations is being done in a timely manner, to make sure taxation is being done in accordance with both the law and what the community wants. So there's a lot of aspects to being on the board. I'm currently serving on a very small board on a very small area of our town, but Flat Creek is home to me, so being on that board has been great. And I am looking forward to a larger set of responsibility and some more impact to the community. Flat Creek is doing well. We just got a $500,000 grant from Wyoming Department, forget which department gave us the grant, but it was good for them. Homeland Security, there we go. And so, spending those funds, making sure that that creek is safe, working with the state and federal agencies is critically important and an important part of being on the board.
Thank you. Now, please, Rebecca. And Terry will be first.
Since, if elected, you'll be on a board of 5 or a gang of 10, what role do you usually play on the team?
That's an interesting and complex question. There are lots of different types of teams, different sizes, different purposes, different goals, different configurations. And so I think that a person may have a usual way of being. It's also important to be able to be a bit of a shapeshifter, meaning different teams, different types of teams might require a person to have a different role. In general, I tend to be the last person speaking in a group. I have a point of view, but I'm not afraid to say, wait a minute, I made a mistake, I didn't consider X, Y, Z, and you're right. I listen and I try and think about things from multiple perspectives. I'm not hesitant to get my hands dirty, and I think I have a sense of humor and have a sense of humor about myself. I can be a little impatient, and I am constantly working on my poker face, which is really bad. As a leader, I've been told, or I've been described as a player's coach, and I'm really proud of that. So.
Kevin?
This question is a little bit hard for me because I'm like the most sports ignorant person you'll meet. So I have trouble coming up with the pithy point position name, but it is funny because local politics is my passion. I attend a lot of public meetings and I watch them, and I'm friends with people who follow this stuff, and it's kind of like, hey, did you see the big game? Did you see Northern South Park? Did you see the vote on the funding split? So for me, it's very interesting to watch this stuff, and as a result, I've learned a lot about what's involved. The day I filed my application, my hand was trembling because I knew how much responsibility is involved. I often serve as a bridge builder, and one example of that is when I was in my role as a law and policy advisor to protect our water Jackson Hole. We played a very important role in what's called the Water Quality Management Plan, which is a plan that will help assess and shape the future of our water quality here in the valley. And when I came in and got involved, there were definitely some interests that were at loggerheads, and I feel like I was able to break some log jams, and a lot of that comes from my temperament. I'm a good listener, and I also make the time and effort to really understand different perspectives. And I remember a few incidents where some of the meetings kind of got heated, and then some people on what's called opposing camps said, well, I kind of agree with what Kevin's saying right now, and some of the people in my camp were a little concerned about that, but ultimately it led to consensus and a better product.
Great. Jesse?
Excellent. So I'm going to go ahead and cheat on this one. Team captain or team manager is really the role here, right? So because the town of Jackson has a great team. We have a bunch of great employees. They do their jobs. They know their positions. And being on the town council really is that, team manager, not even so much coach, right? Coach is, that's going to be the town manager doing the day-to-day tasks, but the team manager, right? Making sure the team is in the right place, making sure you have the budget that you need for your team members, and making sure that they're out there, playing ball and getting the job done. Definitely more of that position. But that's kind of the role that we're looking to run for.
So I bet I've been at 1,000 town council meetings. My role has always been the guy that tries to stick to the agenda, to try to make the meeting efficient, to make the best use of the time for the folks who are in attendance, as well as the staff that is forced to sit there through every meeting. But I think an important role is also to be there and respectfully listen to the people that you're working with. The town and county have an intense relationship at times, and it takes someone who's willing to sit back and consider a different point of view, consider the stakes that are in play on any of those issues, and be willing to listen and to be willing to come to a consensus. But most of all, I like to keep things on track.
Great. So the next question, Kevin will answer first.
Candidates, what is your position on the current moratorium on large new commercial buildings in town?
A moratorium is very strong medicine, and it has to be used sparingly. I think this time was an instance of when the town council was rowing in the same direction and responded to the public outcry about building size. But it's important to keep in mind what this moratorium is and what it isn't. This is going to be a very surgical strike. There's a limited time duration, and there's a limited area of zones mainly concentrated around the downtown and lodging corridors. I've been to a number of meetings in terms of town council, town planning commission, and design review committees. What looks like it's emerging now is a recommendation to kind of cap things around 40,000 square feet. And from the design review committee, there's a lot of emphasis on building facade. And that's important because that really shapes the experience of what you're seeing as you're walking down the street. I think it's necessary to dial these things in, but it's also important to reopen other aspects of the LDR. For example, the 2-to-1 density bonus. We might get into that a little bit, but there's been some calls to kind of extend that discussion, but there's some more examination. I think it has potential, but we need to figure out what that appropriate ratio will be. And also, we're getting close to a time where we need to revisit the whole comprehensive plan, and this is not that exercise. So we'll see where things land with this moratorium, but there's still a lot of work ahead of us.
Pass it down to Jesse.
We're all getting very good at the relay. All right, so I wanted to say, of course, it was a necessary and important thing to do. But one of my, and for Jackson Hole News Guide, we wrote a very long response on the details, some of the things that need to be considered and added to that mix. But correct, I do agree that this is a very surgical strike, I think is how you phrased it, but that's a good way to put it, right? This is a very focused, on the large commercial. There does need to be, greater effort or continued effort on all of the planning regulations. But the other point I would like to mention is that the size of the building probably should be near the bottom of the list of things that are important. You can make a large building look good, fit in with the environment. I would encourage you to stand at DOG and look across the street. That's a fun block where it is a large building, larger than you would typically find in our community, but they've broken it up nicely so you can actually get good use of the building. Because the mistake of saying, oh, we want small buildings, is now you get 13 identical small buildings on one block and you've just lost the war, right? And so if you focus on the size of the building, you literally lose the forest for the trees, right? So we need to remember that this is a much larger issue. There's a lot more variables. If you focus on the size of the building, we'll end up with cookie cutter buildings all owned by the same company because you can't control who owns the property. You can't control, we only have so many construction companies. So that's just one of the things I want to make sure we all keep in mind. There's a lot more to it, and you need to think about that. Oh, I got the hook.
Scott, thank you.
Well, the moratorium's fine, it's a good tool. I think that the council should act quickly to remedy the issues that they sought to solve with the moratorium. I think we need to go back to a maximum building cap on commercial buildings. I think we need to go back and look at something like the tool we used to call the planned mixed-use development, which gave us an opportunity to work with developers to come up with better projects that serve the community. But people don't like big buildings. 300,000 square feet is a big building. And we've got to correct it. And then we need to take a look at how we got to where we got. Why did we end up moving to a form-based code rather than having the instruction of a building size cap to give guidance in the first place? So those are things that in the short term, we've got to take care of the cap. We need to take a look at the 2-for-1 bonus, maybe toss it out. And we need to then take a longer, harder look at how we stay away from this situation in the future.
So the moratorium, I think, is a step in the right direction, and it's long overdue. And thank you to the community members who stood up and spoke out and insisted that council take action. The moratorium is very narrowly focused, it's highly detail-oriented, and it's moving very quickly to meet a specific deadline. It's focused on revising LDRs and building sizes for very large buildings in a specific part of town, and it will likely result in a new ordinance in town, but it's a Band-Aid. There's a lot more work to be done. A much bigger community conversation needs to be had about reining in overdevelopment in town. Before any new ordinance is passed, and before the moratorium expires, I would like to see council direct staff to come up with a plan for what comes next. We can't wait 6 months or a year to revisit issues regarding overdevelopment, the lodging overlay, high-density zoning changes, and workforce housing incentive tools that have resulted in significant problems for our neighborhoods and town. We have a lot of hard work to do now. We know that mobile capital or developers of other large properties are not going to walk away. They will be back.
Thank you. The next question will be answered first by Jessie.
We've gotten a lot of great questions from the audience, so thank you for that. We wanted to sprinkle some in to make sure we get to them. I'm gonna combine two. What do you see as the transportation and parking challenges in town, and how would you solve them? And then related to that, the pathway system has become a dangerous place for those of us who want to use them. Do you have any ideas for improving safety on our town paths?
Yeah, both excellent questions. Transportation, I would definitely look towards some of the more advanced towns in our country. In particular, I really like some of the things that Austin is doing, Austin, Texas. And so they have built some tools there to effectively mimic what we are doing with Smart on Demand, but using more of an infrastructure similar to Uber. But what it means, though, is you can have a very flexible set of transportation options. You can help lower income with lower rates, all while keeping the budget impact extremely low. Because instead of the town buying buses, maintaining buses, especially maintaining vehicles for very low usage routes, not being able to do that last mile of service, the technology can solve a lot of those problems very effectively with less budget impact. So I would certainly be looking more towards aspects like that. For the path itself, I use it regularly. I live literally 20 feet from it. There's, again, just common sense things that we have already started doing, such as speed limits. There is also infrastructure or technology around limiting e-bike settings. I'm sure you've probably heard the terms level 1, level 2, level 3 e-bikes. And certainly, level 3 e-bikes and level 2 e-bikes at full speed are not appropriate for a mixed-use trail. So we'd definitely look at things like that and ways to automate that. Thank you.
Well, the traffic really is awful, and I don't know how to fix it. We've got to work with WYDOT on some solutions. I think we need to focus the START bus on more commuter service to try to develop a way to get cars from coming over the pass and up the canyon. That's going to be expensive. I don't claim to know how to pay for it, but I view START as more of a utility than I do as a revenue center for the town. We've got to use it to help get traffic off the road. The pathways have become much more than we ever thought they were going to be. Originally, we had horseback riders on them and walkers and everything else. Then it became the bikers, and now it's the e-bikers. And there's a conflict there. The town would like to enforce some safety restrictions, but unfortunately, we don't have the staff to do it. So it's a tough thing to do. We've got to educate the young people. We've got to get them to put helmets on, keep it down to no more than 2 people on a bike, and try to slow the speed down before someone gets hurt or killed. It's a dangerous situation that we've got brewing. And when it spills out into the streets and the safe bike to school routes and that sort of thing, and it mixes with vehicle traffic, we're asking for trouble. So we need to gather together, work with pathways, and try to come up with some better ideas about how to slow it down and keep it safe.
I'm a city girl. I love public transportation. I love riding my bike. I think in town we have really pretty good public transportation with START. I think it runs fairly frequently. More frequently is always better, so that people have an incentive to use public transportation, and so that public transportation actually works for them in their daily life. I think we need to increase bus service for commuters, and then better ways for commuters to get from, say, Stilson into town. public transportation has to work for people in their daily life. Parking, I don't think you guys talked about parking. Honestly, I think maybe we need to look at paid parking downtown. I think we need to maybe look at resident parking permits. Maybe we need to look at the parking issues that are resulting from overdevelopment and the spillover into our neighborhoods. Pathways. Pathways are becoming increasingly crowded because our town is becoming increasingly crowded. They're also becoming, in my opinion, a little bit dangerous. I think we need to figure out ways to manage traffic on the pathways, manage speed on the pathways. Yeah, stop. Thank you.
A lot of my friends think I'm nuts because I have a driver's license, but I don't have a car. I remember one evening, I took the Start on Demand to Albertsons to do my grocery shopping. I must have been hungry because I filled up the 2 bags, had them on my shoulders, and it was going to be a 40-minute wait to get the Start on Demand. The bus stop was somewhere beyond snowbanks. The Uber, there was no cars available. At that moment, I thought, maybe my friends are right, I should get a car. But instead, I said, you know what, I'm going to apply to the START board. So I serve on the START board, and these views are my own personal views, not those of START. I think it's really important for us to increase transportation options. We need to make it so that taking public transport is almost as convenient or as convenient as driving in a car. I'm not trying to tell anybody else how to live. Every car that we can get off the road is one less car in front of you trying to turn left on Scott Lane, one more parking spot in front of your business so a customer can find a place to park. It's about carrots and sticks. As far as parking, the integrated transportation plan is a great opportunity for us to integrate some of these things. Start Bus is the original parking hack when it comes to getting to the village. As far as the pathways, what we need is consistency of the regulations as you're going through different places, and what we need is enforcement. And I realize that's difficult with these budgets, but safety and welfare of our citizens, that's the most important responsibility of government.
Great. The 5th question
All right,
will be started with Scott. You will ask him.
I'm ready.
All right. The town has had to spend down its reserves to keep providing community services, from fire EMS to recreation to snow plowing to housing. What is your view on the town budget? What are 3 things you would do to address the problem? If Jackson cannot balance the budget, would you support cutting services and employees or increasing property tax mills?
I don't support increasing property tax mills for any purpose. The town's best and really only resource for raising revenue is through sales tax. But there's another part of the budget, and that's taking a tough look at how we're spending money already. The town has a gap of $4 million between what they're going to spend this year and what they're going to bring in. Same for next year. The year after that, it's $6 million. If you keep going and don't change anything, the reserves are empty. In fact, by 2028, we're $13 million in the hole. So something's got to change. Revenue is obviously a big concern, and we're going to have to look at it. We're going to have to give a serious look at how we increase revenue. But in the meantime, the town needs to assess what its mission is, what its core purpose is, and make sure those things are funded first. And it's going to be a tough road to hoe. But in 12 years, I did 12 mostly balanced budgets. It's possible, but it's going to take some hard work, and it's not going to be easy. So no to property taxes, and yes to taking a hard look at spending.
Yeah, I guess one thing to remember is what happens in the town affects the county, and what happens in the county affects the town, and town residents are county residents. I'm really glad that the town and county were able to finally come to an agreement regarding how joint departments are funded. But the question really gets to a bigger issue of the town's overall funding streams, like what Scott and what Scott was just talking about, and how adequate or inadequate they are. My understanding is that the town of Jackson pretty much relies on sales tax for revenue, and that has been the major funding mechanism for nearly 50 years. Unlike 50 years ago, sales tax doesn't provide nearly enough to fund our town for it to function adequately and provide the services that our growing population expects and deserves. So, a perennial challenge and a major task for town council is to figure out other viable ways to fund government and services, and I don't have the answers. But I do know that it's a significant issue that our town needs to tackle, and that would be primary on the agenda.
I've watched the budget processes very closely at both the town and the county level. And one of the things that's really difficult is we've got all these great services here, and it's getting more and more expensive to maintain those services. So there's no question, first, it's going to take a combination of finding ways to decrease expenditures and also increase revenues. But watching a lot of these budget processes, there's not much fat to trim, and so that's the problem. That's why we need to increase revenue also. And the elephant in the room is the situation with the Justice Center. It's not just a courthouse. It's something that our community needs. It's absolutely vital. Almost everyone agrees among the elected officials that it's something that our community needs. Right now, the current building has a risk of collapse and in a seismic event, and that's where our dispatch is located, and that's the only building that someone is legally required to enter to seek justice. So one tool is SPET. I think you're going to hear more about the SPET measure. It's something that I believe that the residents of Jackson should get behind. Second, another tool is the lodging tax. I like the idea that it's the visitors. It's the visitors that help carry the water of the lodging tax. I know there's some concerns about the promotional aspect of those funds, but I think there's ways we can fine tune it. I also like the idea of a sales tax. Again, the visitors help carry the water. Property owners are suffering. Jackson's unusual that it only has a $500,000 of property tax, but I want to protect those property owners.
Thanks. Again, I'm maybe a little, swim a little different direction than others on this one. I am actually not against property tax, especially on the larger properties. Again, we need to work with the state on this one, but expanding the rebate programs for local workers and older homeowners as part of any tax increase on property taxes. I think it makes a good balance between making sure that the $20 million plus properties are taxed to the level at which they are demanding things from our community, while also keeping property tax low for those of us who are the support of that community. Some other things along those lines, again, just making sure that we try to keep the town budget as constrained as possible. That is effectively impossible here because the costs continue to increase, but keeping an eye on that is a key part of what the town council is supposed to be doing. In addition to that, again, this requires cooperation with the state, but expanding sales tax to include other service type industries, such as the private investment coordinators and investment banks that we have in town. Again, there's a significant amount of money that goes untaxed there because it is not your traditional good. So a whole variety of options, and that's part of what we're here to do, is to help find those solutions.
Great. The sixth question will start with Perry.
How will you be a steward of the community's natural resources while still solving the housing crisis? And when it comes to solving the housing crisis, there's a lot of support for workforce housing, but would you equally support affordable housing for retired seniors and disabled residents?
Finally, the housing question. Housing is a long-term problem. Housing is a long-term problem. And last night, Len Carlman read a letter from 1977 regarding the housing shortage. We have 3 highly skilled housing development entities here in town: the Jackson-Teton County Housing Department, the Jackson Hole Community Housing Trust, and Habitat for Humanity. They have strong leadership, but different complementary missions and goals and strategies for addressing housing issues here in town, and I applaud them all. We do need to move away from our reactionary crisis approach and heads in beds philosophy, and that has resulted in too many 400 square foot units and not enough real homes where families can live for the long haul. I fully support increasing the inventory of truly affordable homes in Jackson, but we need to emphasize the restoration and the preservation and the repurposing of existing structures rather than responding first by build more. There are other housing issues that need to be addressed. We need to deal with the highly problematic workforce designation because workforce housing is not affordable. We need to figure out ways to help people who are stuck in the middle, too much for affordable, too little for a market rate house. And we need to figure out ways to help our young entrepreneurs who don't have necessarily stable income to be able to get a mortgage to purchase a property.
Excuse me, there was a lot packed in that question. Could I hear it one more time, please?
Sure. Sure, it was how will you be a steward of the community's natural resources while still solving the housing crisis? And then there's a lot of emphasis on workforce housing, but do you equally support affordable housing for retired seniors and disabled residents?
I've heard it's good luck if the library announcement goes off twice when you're speaking in this panel. So first of all, housing. I've got skin in the game on this one. I'm a renter, and it's really hard. I know it's hard out there for property owners too. But in 2023, I was living at the Ranch Inn for a couple months, trying to find an apartment, and I was shopping. And I'm an attorney. I'm used to reading the fine print, but I had an option to get a workforce unit and a market unit. And I chose the market unit because workforce was only $100 a month less, and it wouldn't have started for another 2 months, and there was nowhere else to go. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When you're worried about your shelter, sometimes you don't think clearly. And the vision laid out in our comprehensive plan, it's about being a steward for our natural resources, but it also sets out the goal that 65% of our workforce should be able to live here. That's important for building community. When people who work here can live here, they have a chance to invest in the community. And I'm not just talking about dollars, I'm talking about their talents and their time. There's ways to try to concentrate density where density is appropriate. For example, I support the Virginia development. We got to get that to the finish line. I also believe it's important to provide housing options for seniors and those that are disabled. I was knocking doors recently, and I met a 76-year-old woman who's taking care of her son, and she's really worried about what's going to happen when she goes.
Did you one more time?
Oh, sorry, I thought I saw stop, but
Well,
1 second.
well, no, he asked, did you include, he has another
I'm
minute for his
sorry.
red card.
Did you use it? Oh, I apologize.
So,
I
yeah,
did not see
we just
that.
want to use it.
sure. So how about this? The other part, environment. There's no secret here. I believe very firmly in clean water. I studied environmental science and environmental law, and it can get very academic. But there was this time I was in Garriman Park, and it was a hot summer day, and the sun was beating down, and I kind of walked under the shade of the trees, and I saw a young family and like 2 children splashing and playing. And I remember how I used to do that as a kid, and now I think twice before I like jump in the water and splash. We got to make sure that the water in our community is safe for people to drink. And the town of Jackson plays an important role in the water quality of other areas of the county. We also need to make sure that people can swim in our water without the fear of E. coli. Again, the theme of my campaign is balance. It's about threading the needle. Balance doesn't mean you don't stand for something. It means you roll up your sleeves, you weigh the facts very carefully, and you make the best decision you can. And when it comes to housing and the environment, that's what we need to do.
So it's Jesse's turn to answer question.
Excellent. With that, housing, of course, is always going to be expensive here. We have constrained space. We have a lot of people who want to live here. So we need to be, fully cognizant of what we are asking for. We don't just want to build a lot of low-income housing just for people to live in. What we want is balance. And there will always be rich people with a lot of money who want to live here because it's beautiful. And the town can never compete on a $1 per square foot price with what outside money could potentially pay for property. So this really needs to be addressed with land use regulations, with better tenant rights. Currently we have basically no tenant rights in this town. So there are a lot of tools at our disposal that we just aren't currently using. And those are the things that we need to continue to focus on and make sure we take advantage of, and lessons learned from other communities like us. Because we're currently falling into a lot of traps that other communities fell into 20 years ago, right? We continue to pride ourselves on being unique, forgetting the fact that we can actually learn from other places as well. So a lot of options still on the table to continue to give us the good balance. I'm a huge fan of the 2024 housing plan. There's a lot of good ideas in there. And we just need to continue to, look at the big picture and make sure that we, put the pieces in place that make it, affordable for having us the town that we want to live in.
So to paraphrase an old friend of mine, we can't sacrifice the values of natural resources in our community on the altar of housing. Housing is growth, and growth and housing go hand in hand. And it doesn't necessarily make it easy to protect our natural environment. That being said, I support workforce housing, generally speaking, but I more support affordable housing. For those who make less than 120% of median income in the valley, 87% of households needing housing need housing for folks who make less than 120%. That product is not being developed at any rapid pace through our housing program. So I'd like to focus more on that. And of course, I support anything we can do for senior housing.
Great. The next question will be answered first by Kevin.
All right, we've got an audience question here. Thank you, audience members, for submitting wonderful questions. The town has been a leader in our community in advancing climate and sustainability priorities. What is your top climate and sustainability priority if you are elected?
The greatest source of our climate impacts in this county are vehicle emissions. And what we need to do is try to find incentives and ways to get single occupancy vehicles off the road. Again, not trying to tell anybody what they have to do, but creating incentives. For me, what makes no sense is a couple flying from New York City to Jackson, renting a car, driving downtown, trying to find a place to park, to go drive back out to Jenny Lake and not be able to take their hike because there's nowhere to park. We can do better. I believe that the starting point is the airport shuttle. There's some good options about, we gotta make that a permanent service and we gotta make it workable. Some of those good ideas include having it extend to the west side, potentially finding ways to come up with some parking solutions. Perhaps there's some ways to use the existing parking garage for some limited long-term parking. There's a lot of ideas we can explore with. And again, it's gonna take partnership. It's gonna take partnership between the airport board, the town, and the county, and the START board, and Teton Village. Again, the main thing we can do is try to get vehicles off the road.
I'm relatively certain the people flying in on their private jets aren't going to take smart bus to get to the village. We'll certainly, getting streets off the road is great for traffic. I don't think that's our biggest environmental priority. Clean water, clean surface water, especially clean drinking water for not so much for Jackson, but other towns in the valley, even bigger priority. So those are definitely the areas I think are just critically important. We don't survive well without drinking water. And then beyond that, general congestion, isn't healthy for anyone's air intake. And again, like I said, the balance on housing. We don't want to paper every last square foot of this valley with housing at high density either. While that would drop the price of housing, that's not really the town we want to live in, I don't think. So a few things there, but yeah, it is all around the balance with the priority for me, of course, being good water.
When you're floating down Flat Creek and you see the sign that says, "Warning, E. coli," it makes you think, I wonder how our water quality is. I think water quality is certainly important. I agree that emissions are important. We should do what we can to get cars off the road. Part of that could be an enhanced commuter service to Star Valley and to Teton Valley. When I served as the chairman of the Energy Conservation Works, which is an organization that is put together by the town, the county, and Lower Valley Energy, we focused on trying to get people to transition to green power. Seems like a small thing, but it's actually kind of a big thing. It's an opportunity for folks to pay a little extra for their power, but to receive it from wind or from solar. And in addition to that, the town and county and Lower Valley are investing in a community solar project that I encourage us to do. So it's big things and it's small things, but the environment is something we've always got to keep in our scope.
Before Perry answers a question, Jesse said he wanted to use his red
I
card.
can go at the end or now, whichever you prefer. I'm sorry. No, you're good. Your choice.
I don't care.
Oh, well, I'll jump in right now. Just wanted to say that Flat Creek has been consistently passing its E. coli test for level 1 recreation. The town has been doing a great job there. Teton Conservation District has been doing a great job there. So continuing to step up that monitoring program. I'm on the Flat Creek Watershed Improvement District board, so I was a little sensitive. Fish Creek does still have some issues, but we'll talk to the county commissioners for that one.
I'd like to approach this question from maybe a little bit different point of view. In fact, we've had some really excellent work done in developing goals and plans and strategies for climate, water, and sustainability. So we have a Flat Creek management plan. We have a 20-year water quality management plan, and we have a sustainability plan. So we need to be able to be strategic and no worries, and persistent in implementing the various plans that have already been created. We need to have specific projections and goals, and then we need to see how well we're doing. So in fact, I wonder if this is more of an accountability question. A lot of plans get developed, but then they end up sitting on the shelf for one reason or another. I myself have written a lot of plans. So personally, I'm a big fan of scorecards and report cards. Maybe we need some sort of objective measurement of how good a job we're doing at achieving the goals that we've set and have objective measurements communicated in very public ways at regular intervals. It takes a lot of persistence, reasonable goal setting, resources and time, but it is doable. So I guess I would look at this perhaps a little bit differently and think about ways that we can increase our accountability.
Kevin wants to use his second red card.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I went first on that question. I'm wondering if I misheard the question. Was it about climate or environment generally?
Shall I repeat it?
Please.
The town has been a leader in our community, advancing climate and sustainability priorities. What is your top climate and sustainability priority if you are elected?
Well, I previously answered the first part of the question, which is about what I think about, climate issues. But as far as what I see as the biggest environmental issue for us to face is clean water. It's a real shame that, people in our community have had boil waters. There's people in our community still who are having bottled water delivered by nonprofits, and there's periodically warnings about it not being safe to swim in Fish Creek and Flat Creek. We have a great study that's been done, but now it's time to take action. And water is the lifeblood of this valley and the backbone of our economy. It's what people come here to do for fun, whether it's rafting or fishing. It's the lifeblood for the wildlife that people come here to see. And it is the source of the soul of this valley. And we need to protect it. And there's so much more we can do. And the town is doing a lot of good work, but it's having to carry a lot of that responsibility for the wastewater treatment plant. That infrastructure is aging. We need to try to work together to solve these problems.
Terrific. We have time for one more question. And Jesse will go first.
Another audience question. What is your vision for the Jackson Hole Travel and Tourism Board's future marketing plan and continuing to drive growth and tourism?
So I haven't spent a lot of time with the marketing plan per se, but continuing to drive the good reputation of the town, I think is, it isn't always about just driving, seats into the chairs or, filling the hotel spaces. At some point, you also want to make sure that you're getting the types of tourists that you want, that they are being respectful of the land, that they're taking the eco tours and the other fun tours and getting out there and learning about the environment and making us all better stewards of the environment. So that's just, while I appreciate the fact that the hotels want a return on their tax and drive the best revenue they can, I think at some point it also is our responsibility to drive the best type of revenue that we can as well.
So I think the Travel and Tourism Board is actually doing a pretty good job of trying to balance how they use their money for promotion. They've been focused a lot on promoting reasonable tourism, encouraging folks to act responsibly when they come into the valley. And part of the problem here is that the state legislation requires a certain amount of this money to be spent on promotion. I encourage creativity when it comes to what we decide promotion is. For instance, I think it would be great if the Start Bus sold some ads on the inside of their bus to the Travel and Tourism Board for, say, $10 million. Use that money to fund the Start. Now, maybe we'd get sued for that. I don't know. I've been sued a couple of times. It's possible. But I think generally speaking, their goal is to try to use that money in the most responsible way to encourage responsible tourism in the valley.
I think we're feeling the effects of over-tourism in many sectors of our town. I can't tell you how many people have said to me, I avoid going downtown all summer because it's too crowded. I just avoid going downtown. I do think that the Travel and Tourism Board is doing a better job of focusing on education. Their Stay Wild campaign, I think, is really pretty good. But I think we need to do more. I think we need to be educating our visitors on our way of being here, our precious environment here, and their responsibility as visitors to this place. Yeah, I think we need a responsible approach to tourism and curb the over-tourism.
So I alluded to this issue when I was talking about the lodging tax, right? And that's one of the big concerns is if you're gonna do a lodging tax, yeah, it's paid by the visitors, but then a certain portion of that money, due to the state context, has to get used for promotion. So again, I think it's about fine tuning and trying to thread that needle. There's certain times of the year where we have more capacity and the environmental impacts, you can kind of spread them out. Also educating tourists about ways to be responsible tourists. You know, some of these ideas that we've been talking about tonight about, you know, for example, airport service, and there's ways that we can use some of that promotional money. I've been learning more about the TTB and the Destination Stewardship Council, and it seems like there's some new alliances and partnerships being formed, and that's the double-edged sword of living in a place where people want to come for vacation. We get to live here every day, and we have responsibilities as stewards to this place and also to share it. We are the gateway to the greater Yellowstone ecosystem. That's the most intact ecosystem in the lower states. So long and short of it, there's potential. Let's see if we can fine tune it. Let's try some different things and use adaptive management. If things work, let's amp that up. If things aren't working, let's scale it back.
Great. Jesse has asked to use his second red card. He gets a minute.
I think we're actually all on the same page on this one. Using those funds, maybe not for $10 million ads, but I do want to mention to everybody that those funds are available for doing events. So community events, nonprofit events, things like that is one of the valid uses. So definitely encourage the community to continue to leverage that. And yeah, let's make the best use of those funds that we can. They are earmarked, unfortunately, in a way that isn't the most flexible, but there are still ways that we can continue to take good advantage of those funds that are, you know, kind of by definition the part of the problem of a lot of people here is all of their visitors, but that's, you know, can be part of the solution as well.
Great. We had 8 terrific questions, wonderful answers, and I want to make sure we get out like when I promised we would. So we're ready for closing statements. Each one of the candidates gets 1 minute for a closing statement, and Kevin will go first.
Thank you all for your time and attention tonight. Again, I'm Kevin Regan, and I'm asking for your vote for Town Council. I'm enjoying this campaign process. I see this as a job interview with the residents of Jackson. I'm committed to this community. I've already been working with policy issues daily. I will continue this commitment. My goal is to improve the quality of life for all Jackson residents. If elected, I will show up, I'll work hard. A vote for me is a vote for clean water that's safe to drink and safe to swim in.
Sorry, I apologize.
I'm sorry, I got thrown up. I got the stop card. A vote for me is a vote for transportation solutions, including permanent and workable airport service, and a vote for affordable housing. We got to get the Virginian across the finish line, and we got to get it right. I got some flyers out there in the lobby with my website. I'd ask you to take a look, and my personal cell number is on there. If you have any questions about my ideas, please let me know, and I would love to hear your ideas. Together, we can make Jackson even better. Thank you.
Great, it goes down to Jesse.
So again, I'm Jesse Rao. Also would love for you to vote for me. As I mentioned earlier, I am a business consultant. I'm here to try and make this town as efficient and productive as possible. Trying to stay within our tax limits, trying not to need to increase revenue whenever we can, however we can manage that, but instead use smart regulations that we can learn from other places and make sure we are using best practices across our community. With that, I did not have stickers or things to take with you. I would rather you scan if you want to learn more. My URL is on there. There's also a Venmo on there because that's a cool thing to do these days. Although my settings are set to private, unlike our recent VP candidate who you can see all of his friends and connections. So that was an interesting side note. But I am in the technology world and definitely look forward to bringing some of those advancements to the town of Jackson.
690-0467. I'm either at Snake River Roasting or Picnic every morning. Please come see me. I'd love to chat. I found this, actually a friend of mine found this. This is from 1990, Planning for a Successful Community. I'll leave a couple of these around if you want to scan through it. It's what we were thinking 34 years ago, what we might expect to experience today. I would say to you, if you look around the town of Jackson, this isn't what we thought we were going to get. It's not great. I think we can do a better job. And given my experience and background, I think I'm a good person to lend a hand in making some of that happen. So early voting starts Tuesday. Scott Anderson, 690-0467.
×2. Oh, okay. I believe our town government has in recent years become very developer friendly, perhaps too developer friendly. And I think now we're seeing and feeling the impact of that in all sectors of our town. I'm running for town council because I believe Jackson is at a tipping point, specifically in terms of overdevelopment and its impact on town and all aspects of our community. We need a new vision. We need a course correction. We need a new plan moving forward. I believe our town council needs to drive a thoughtful approach that permits reasonable development, but prioritizes the natural resources, wildlife habitat, and historic characteristics that have made Jackson so unique, but now seem to be slipping away. I have 4 priority areas: responsible development, community-centeredness, community first, fiscal responsibility, and affordable housing. I will always maintain that everything is interrelated. What you do in one area affects all other areas, for better or for worse, or somewhere in between. I believe we have to do a better job of looking at our town's challenges, opportunities, and potential rewards in a truly holistic manner. As a private citizen for several years now, I've been talking about and advocating for change in many or most of the areas that we've been discussing this evening. I went back and I looked at the letters to the editor and guest shots that I have had published in the Jackson Hole News and Guide over the past 5 years. There are 9. And there are others that I have either edited or reviewed. I regularly, please go, please continue. I regularly attend and provide public comment at town council and county commissioner meetings. I am truly a grassroots advocate for our town's residents. I believe that grassroots activism sets me apart and would serve me well as a town council person. Overall, I believe we need to set higher standards and have higher expectations as our community moves to the future. Good enough is not good enough. I want to be instrumental in charting that new course, and so that's why I'm running for town council. Thank you all for coming here this evening. I hope to earn your vote. Can I do my website?
Yes, Commissioner.
Yes, please. perryforcouncil.com, perryforcouncil@gmail.com, 412, that's Pittsburgh, 897-1561. Thank you.
Let's give these people. Our community is really fortunate to have this level of dedication from people who are wanting to serve us. So thanks to everyone for joining us tonight to meet the candidates for Jackson Mayor and Jackson Town Council. Kudos to each of you for your dedication to our community and for your thoughtful comments. You provided important insights, so we are now more informed. We're much obligated to the media panel for their insightful questions and to the entire forum team. The Wyoming League of Women Voters, Teton County Library, Jackson Hole News and Guide, Jackson Hole Community Radio, KHOL 89.1, and Buck Rail, with funding provided by Teton County Library Foundation and Friends and the Community Foundation of Jackson Hole. And finally, a big thank you to you, our audience, for striving to become better informed voters. You make a difference. So remember, August 5th is the deadline to register for mail-in ballots, and your ballot for the primary election must be submitted no later than Tuesday, August 20th. As an added bonus, live Spanish translation was available during tonight's forum. Thank you, Patty Roca, for your excellent translation capabilities. And these forum sessions are also being videotaped with recordings available online at Teton County Library, tclib.org, after the events. So check them out. And look for us again in the September-October timeframe for forums in support of the general election. And if you're looking for fun and a way to support informed democracy, come join us at the League of Women Voters. And you don't have to be a woman to become a member. Until then, stay positive, be kind, safe, and healthy. We now have until 8 o'clock for everyone to mingle. See you in September and October.